Hello, lads and lasses. Hey, if you like today's lesson, then please become the principal of Cypress Falls and expel any student who is not taking art classes, as this would really help spread the good word about my class. Okay, everybody. Today we're going to continue working on the candy painting, and let's get a little bit farther back so we can see what's going on. So yesterday I drew it out. I used the black and white photo to draw it out, and I drew it out. And yesterday I did the background with purple and black. And today I am going to I'm going to start off with this area, and then we'll see how much time I have for the others. And just to tell you, one trick about painting is always go from the background to the foreground. So always do the background first and do the foreground last. And one of the reasons why is that that when we do our subject and then we do the background, we're kind of afraid to paint over the subject. And if we do it the other way around, it's okay to paint over the background because it's in front of the background. So that's why I do it this way. Uh, so I like to go from background to foreground. That's what I'm going to do. So if I look at my picture, the next piece that's in the background, and I also like to go from top to bottom. So I'm going to do this piece right here, and which is that yellow. And then we'll do some of this other stuff over here. And I have my high contrast so I can see what's going on. And I have my bold colors so I can see like how bright I want my colors. And then I have my black and white so I can see darks and lights. And in fact, I just saw something interesting here. So this is the reason why I use many different pictures. And I don't know if you can see on the picture, but there's a slight lighter area right here that does not show up on that one. All of this looks the same, and then it gets into the darks, but it's lighter over here. And then another thing I want you to look at when we're looking at this, like the yellow turns into black. But on this one, the yellow turns into like a brownie. And then even what's even cool is I get a little bit of red down here that I didn't have there. There's no red. And this is a reason why I have you guys edit this and have different pictures. And what's happening is that the light is shining on all this candy and it's shining on this red lifesaver and it's reflecting red light back into the yellow. And if I had just used this photo, I never would have seen that. And so I'm going to add some red into here to give that reflected light and to add more color and to give it more life. You know, when you use black to give shadows, it really takes the life out of the color. Like this is a much more lively color than this one. This is just kind of dies at the end. And I don't know if you ever heard another art teacher tell you never to use black. And this is why. This is why the art teachers tell you not to use black, is because it kills the color. It dulls it down. It makes it kind of ugly. All right. So we will be using black on it. Like, for example, we use black on here. And it's hard to see in the camera, but it's easy to see in real life that this area right here looks very purple. But on camera, if I'm looking at it on my laptop computer, it looks like black. But if you were standing here looking at it, all of this would look very purple. So that's kind of like the limitation of me recording these videos for you, that I'm using a low quality camera, this hover cam, to film this. And I wish I had a high quality camera, but it doesn't, it's not picking up the richness of color that I have in this area right here. All right, so I'm going to show you something. I want to show you how to blend colors with tempera paint. So I'm going to go and get some water and I'll be right back. Make a little rectangle over here. This is my scratch area over here. So this is my painting right here, and this is my border right here. And let's get a focus log. All right, and so I'm going to draw a rectangle over here and I'm just going to give you a demonstration of how to go from one color to another. All right, I'm going to mix some yellow. Mix a little bit of yellow. All right, you don't need a lot of paint to do this. In fact, when you're pouring paint, only pour just a teeny tiny little bit of paint. In fact, you can see just how small my brown is. All right. I get my brush wet and then I get the extra water off. So watch as I get my brush wet and then I'm rubbing it or dragging it across the lip of the container and I'm getting the extra water off. And now I'm going to flick it on the floor. I just flicked it on the floor and to get any extra water off. So my brush is damp and wet without being dripping wet. There's no drops of water about to fall into my paint, and that's what I want. All right, so I'm going to make this go from light to dark. So I'm going to do yellow to brown. All right, you got to work quick and see if I can get it so that you can see my paints. Maybe I can go this way. All right, move a little bit back. All right, you're just going to have to trust me that I'm getting yellow and brown. So I'm going to zoom in on the section so you can really see what I'm doing. And we'll do a focus lock. All right. And so I'm going to put yellow on this side, and you got to be quick when you do this because what's happening is the paint is drying as we speak. In fact, I did something wrong. I should have made just a medium color. So I'm going to put some yellow in the middle. And then wash off my brush, get the extra water off, pick up a little bit of this brown and mix it together. And get a little bit more, a little bit more. So now I have yellow, brown, and then a medium color between the two. All right. So I'm going to put that yellow brown right here. All right. And you see the difference between the yellow and the yellow brown? And then, all right, so the trick is I've washed all the color off my paint. I have flicked the water off my brush, and what's what I call a naked brush. There's no paint and no water on my brush. And then I rub between the border of the yellow and the yellow brown. And that should give me a smooth transition from one color to another. All right. So I'm going to put some more yellow brown over here. And then I'm going to put brown over here. All right, and that's a big difference between the brown and the yellow brown. All right, I'm going to wash off my brush. Got the extra water off. I flicked it on the ground. I'm going to put yellow brown right here. And then I'm going to make my brush be naked. No water, no paint. And then I'm just going to rub between the border. And I'll bring it out this way a little bit. All right, I'm going to wash off my brush. I've got a bit of a border right here along here, so I'm going to have a naked brush and then rub that border. All right, and I'm going to wash off my brush. And I got a naked brush, and I'm going to rub that border. All right, now over here, there was a border right there, so I'm going to rub that with the brush. And then I made a new border, so I get a naked brush and rub that out. And I just keep light, and I'm not using any pressure. And that gives me a pretty good slow blend from light to dark. All right. And I'm going to use this method on my painting. So anywhere where I see a strong contrast between one color and another that's next to it, I can come in with a naked brush and rub the border between the two colors. And that will give me a smooth transition. All right. So that's what I'm going to do over here. Oh, and then also, when I look at, I'm going to show you one more thing. So I'm going to pull up the internets and we'll do yellow values. And we'll go to images. All right, so let's look at this right here. These yellows right here, it goes from a light yellow to a darker yellow. This is kind of what I'm aiming for. Look at, like, they've added orange into that. So I'm going to be adding orange into my yellow. All right, there's another one, this one right here. All right, look how the yellow goes towards black. And this is when you add black to yellow, it gives you like this army green or this pea green. And that's not what I'm looking for in my painting. I want my colors to be bright and vibrant. And so that's why I chose the warm colors. And so I want to keep my yellows bright. And even when they go into shadow, I want them to be bright colors. And if I were to use black, it would change it to a color that I don't want. Let's see what else we can see. Here's another example of adding black to yellow, and it really kind of turns into like a baby poop green or a pea green or something. But that first one that we looked at up here, this is what I'm going to go for. These bright oranges, and then we'll go into brown. Instead of using black to darken, we're going to use brown. Here's another good example of yellow values, of going towards the brown instead of black. And brown is just dark orange. And here we can see what happens when you do yellow and black. All right, so I keep repeating myself. Let's go back to the painting. All right, and also I'm going to use a little bit of fluorescent yellow. Now, I don't want my colors to be fluorescent. I'm just going to use fluorescent yellow. I'm going to mix a little bit of fluorescent yellow into the yellow just to make it a little bit brighter. And I'm going to add orange. And we're just using the Crayola paints that we have. We're using tempera paints. When you get your paints, be aware of what the colors are or what kinds of paints they are. You don't want to get acrylic paint and try to mix it with tempera paint. All right, and once again, when you pour the paints in your palette, try to use the smallest amount possible. We are working in a small space, so you don't need a lot of paint. I'm just using just a little bit. And here where it's a lot and here where it's a lot, that was a total mistake. I only meant to get about that much. So even if I made a mistake, it's still a small mistake. All right, so let's start playing around with color. And once again, I'm going to go from light to dark, but there's a highlight area about right here. And that doesn't show up on this one. but there's a highlight area right here. So it's going to be a little bit lighter. So it's going to go from light to lighter to light to medium to dark. And once again, I'm going to make a separate yellow that mixes yellow and fluorescent yellow. And once again, I don't want to make fluorescent yellow. I don't want to use fluorescent yellow as a color. I want to use fluorescent yellow to brighten my colors. All right, so then what I'm going to do is make some yellow orange. So I'm going to get some of this yellow, put it over here, add some orange to it. And that was too much orange. That just looks orange. Wash off my brush. Give a little bit of that. There we go. All right, and now this yellow starts to get a little bit darker. And I have to work quickly. This stuff is drying fast right in front of me. So, and I just blend it a little bit so there's no hard edges. And then I'll make this other yellow orange that I made that was too dark. I'm going to put that along here. Very quickly, because this stuff is drying as I speak. Gotta work fast on this. All right, flick off the excess water, naked brush, no paint, no water. All right, and then we're going to do that. Let's get some brown into this. So that was yellow, orange, and brown. And we'll do this along the outside. All right. And then I'm going to flick off my brush and blur that edge. All right. Now, I think that there was more of a shadow than this, so I'm going to pull that, I need to make some more of that yellow and orange and brown together. And in my picture, there's a much more of a shadow than what I painted, right? So, need to bring that shadow a little bit out. And then I'm going to blend it. I'm using very light pressure. My brush is hardly touching the paper. All right, now I'm going to come back in with just my regular yellow. And I'm going to go back to making that yellow and fluorescent yellow together. Get it a little bit brighter. All right, now, one last thing is I saw a little bit of red down in the corner. So I'm going to do red and orange together because I don't want it to be too different. I don't want that red to just stick out like a sore thumb. So I'm mixing red and orange. And I'm adding just a little bit of water to it just to thin it out because I don't want it to be red. I want it, to have like a little bit of a red tint to it. And that was just down here in the corner. Just a little bit of red, all right? And then I'm going to wash off my brush, flick it off, naked brush, and blend all of that together. Wash off my brush. I'm going to get some more of this yellow, put it over here. I don't want that red to come out too far. All right, and now back to that highlight. I added just a little bit of white, or I'm going to add just a little bit of white in this area right here. And with a naked brush, just going to blend around it. So that there's just a hint of a highlight. Now, the highlight that was on the picture is very subtle, so I made mine as subtle as well. All right, and I am kind of pleased at what I got. Now, right over here, there's a drop of yellow paint that landed on top of that, so I guess I'll just have to figure to fix that later on. All right, and how are we doing on time? I think I have time to do a little bit more today. All right. So it is hard to tell what's going on back here, but I think we have like a candy corn. Let's see, let's do this. There's a candy corn, and then there's like something here, and it's hard to tell. Candy corn, something red, something orange, and then something else. So let's start with the candy corn. All right, so it's white, and I think we're just going to give just a hint of purple to give any kind of a shadow to it. And notice I didn't draw the difference between the one to another. And I'm going to do that with paint. So the fewer lines that we have on there that we're drawn with pencil, the more painterly that this is going to be. So that'll be okay. You don't have to draw every single detail when you draw this. All right. So I think we had white over here, and I'll paint this white. You know what? And to keep with the theme of warm colors. I'm just adding a little bit of fluorescent orange in it. It's still going to look white. It'll be the lightest fluorescent orange that ever was. It will read as white. See, and I've already made some mistakes, but the great thing about painting is you can just paint over your mistakes. There's no erasing in painting. All right, and then in the photograph, it looks very reddish orange. So I'm going to go back to that reddish orange that I made and add some more orange to it. And it kind of goes along the side of here. And then it does a trip up here. And the area right here is kind of red. And then I'm just going to do, in fact, I'm going to get a much smaller brush for this. So I got a much tinier brush to get into these details. And then I'm going to blend right here. I used too much water on that. So let me get the water off. And I can also use a towel, you know. Now, when you use a towel, you pinch it, but you do not pull. I'm going to pinch, and that just absorbs the water that's in there. Don't pull the brush as you pinch it, because that'll pull the hairs out, and you don't want a ghetto brush like that. All right. I'm maybe even come in with some yellow, and all right, that was too much. I'm going to wash off my brush, flick my brush, even pinch it, and that yellow just got absorbed into the orange. That's okay. We blend, I think. All right, that's a good color. It's almost fiery. All right. And I'm going to come by and just, with a naked brush, flick and get all the excess water off. And just give it like a little bit of a border. All right. All right, and then this thing back here is red, and it has a pretty bright highlight on it. So we're going to do highlights first. I'm going to put the highlight, it's just white right there in the middle. I have a circle of white on the white paper, so you probably can't see it. And then I'm going to paint red all around it. I flick my brush. I'm going to get a tiny little bit of red on my tiny little paintbrush. I'm going around all the borders. Pick up a little bit more red. I'm going to go around that highlight. And then with a naked brush, I'm just going to go and just go around the border between the highlight and the red. So I just pick up just a little bit of pink around there. All right, clear off my brush. I have a little bit too much pink. There we go. That's better. All right. And then I'm going to do just a little bit of, you know what I should have done? I should have gotten black. I'll be right back. All right, I just got a teeny tiny little bit of dot of black, and I'm not going to make black, I'm just going to add a little bit of black to red, just a tiny little bit, just to make a darker red. Making a darker red. And just have a little bit of dark red just right there. It's just a detail is what I've done. And then I'm going to come back in with just a little bit of red. Have a tiny little bit of red on my brush. And then I'm going to blend right there. And naked brush. Blend between the border. All right. And back here, it got a little bit pink. So I'm going to bring that red back up here. All right. So I'm happy with that little piece of candy, whatever it was. Do I have time? Let's see what time we got here. Let's see, 19, 13. All right, I think I have time for one more. So since we're working our way from the back to the front, we're going to do this one next, and it is orange. And there is a highlight on that orange, all right, a bright highlight. And if you look at this one, all right, bright highlight. And so then let's do the highlight first and then paint around it. And that highlight is a rather large highlight. It is a bright oval right over here. I'm just going to remember that it's there. All right. I'm going to paint everything else orange, or I'm going to do orange across the top and then blend into a darker orange towards the bottom. So all of this will be orange. And I don't think that's bright enough. I'm going to go get fluorescent orange. Okay, so as not to be wasteful, I'm just adding a wee tiny little drop of orange on my palette. And pick up my tiny brush, my wee tiny brush, and I'm going to mix orange and fluorescent orange together, make it brighter. All right. All right. That's much better. I got too much water on that. That's what I'm doing. Soaking up some water. All right, so I'm pulling that orange down to about this area. In fact, we'll go ahead and define our highlight. And so what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing a naked brush just around the edge of the highlight. And then I'm going to dry off my brush And there's a little bit of white in there that I don't, or I mean, I'm sorry, there's a little bit of orange inside my white that I don't want, so I'm just going to paint right on top of it. And once again, with the naked brush, I just want just a little bit of a blur around that highlight. Okay, and now down here, it's going to be brown. And then I'll take my orange, bring it down to the border with the brown. And then I'm going to use my naked brush to blend between the orange and the dark orange, which is brown. I'm going to bring some more of that orange in. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. In fact, I'm going to bring some more of that orange in up here, and more of that orange up here. I'm beginning to see it getting streaky. Oh, there was another highlight that I totally missed on here. Now, on the screen, that looks awfully red. All right. There was a highlight right here. I'm just going to add a lot of white right there. And then with a naked brush, I'm going to fuzz up the edge of that white. All right, go back down here, put some more brown down here. It's already starting to dry. And I'm going to put a lot of this orange mixed with fluorescent orange right next to it. All right, and then with a naked brush, rub. All right. See if we can get down close. I'm going to get some more of the orange, put it on top. And bring that orange into that shadow. I'm going to bring some more orange over here. naked brush, rub between. All right, got a little bit of orange on my brush right now. See if we can. I had too much water on that. Starting to bleed into the highlight. That was a mistake. Trying to douse it up with my paper towel. All right, and what happens with tempera when it gets wet again? If it dries and then you paint over it and then it gets wet again, the color begins to seep up from underneath. So I'm putting white back into the highlight. I'm going to add a little bit of white right there. All right, and I'm going to call this done. Although that dark red needs to go a little bit darker into that corner. So just a wee bit of pure black. And then I come back in with red. Come in with the red. That should give me the darkness that I need. And while we're here, and I have black, I'm just going to put a black dot right over that. All right. All right, I'm running out of time, so that's where I'm going to stop for right now.
All right, that's it for today. And until next time, be a little art factory.